Hello, everyone, and welcome to the scoping meeting for the Supplemental Environmental Impact Report for the Multi-Sport Complex and Southeast Grant Line Industrial Annexation Area. My name is Christopher Jordan, and I'm the Director of Strategic Planning and Innovation for the city. In the age of COVID, we are doing our scoping meetings a little bit differently for environmental review purposes, given social distancing requirements. So we're asking you to watch this video to learn a little bit more about the project and then take a moment to provide any comments you have at the link below. Take you to a survey form where you can fill out the information. You, of course, can provide written comments to us as well. There is information about where to send those on this page as well as in the presentation. So to go into this more in depth, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Matthew Gerken from AECOM, who is our lead on the environmental review. Matthew.
Thank you, Christopher. Our objectives for this virtual scoping session are the same as if we were together in person: to notify responsible and trustee agencies and other interested parties of the environmental review process, to provide information on the project, which we'll describe later in this presentation, and to invite input on the scope of analysis for the environmental review. Next slide, please. So a quick overview of this session. We're going to talk about the type of environmental documentation, highlight the project, identify probable environmental effects, describe the overall environmental review process, and then finally describe how to provide input on the scope of analysis. The California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, requires lead agencies to disclose environmental effects prior to approving projects. Also requires lead agencies to consider feasible ways to reduce impacts and alternatives that could help reduce or avoid environmental impacts. There are different types of environmental documents that are appropriate for different projects and for different contexts. In this case, the city will prepare a supplemental environmental impact report. There are several provisions of CEQA that are designed to avoid duplicative analysis of environmental effects that were already examined in previous environmental documents, and a supplemental EIR is one of those ways to avoid redundancy. A supplemental EIR provides only the information that's necessary to understand a project as revised. Here, the city will supplement the EIR that was certified in 2019 for the Elk Grove Sphere of Influence Area and Multi-Sport Complex EIR. The project that will be analyzed in this supplemental EIR is very similar to that which was analyzed in the original 2019 EIR. However, the land use assumptions have minor changes, and there's more detail now that's known about infrastructure that will be required to support the development within the project area. Project area, as you can see on the map here, is along Grant Line Road. It's just southeast of the existing city limits. The overall project area is approximately 560 acres in land area, which has not changed from the original 2019 EIR. The project includes adoption of a general plan amendment to designate properties within the area on the city's general plan land use diagram, and then also pre-zoning of properties within this annexation area consistent with the general plan amendment. The land use assumptions have changed for this supplemental EIR compared to the 2019 original. Specifically, the land use assumptions have changed for approximately 100 acres of city-owned property. It's about in the middle of the project area. In that area, the 2019 EIR had assumed development operation of a multi-sport complex. The sport complex could still occur, but this supplemental EIR will include analysis of what would happen if a range of manufacturing, warehousing, and distribution uses instead were developed on this property. The original 2019 EIR also had assumed about 61 acres of general commercial office development, and now instead there's about 20 acres of regional commercial assumed along Grant Line Road and additional lands for industrial use. As I noted, there's also more detail known about infrastructure needed to serve the area. The EIR will include analysis related to a new transportation master plan, which shows circulation improvements that are necessary in the area. The EIR will also provide analysis related to a new water master plan and Zone 40 water supply master plan amendment. Those reports show that the revised project will increase water demand compared to what was originally analyzed, and will show adequate water supply based on the increase in water demand. The EIR will also provide analysis related to 2 proposed points of connection for water supply along Grant Line Road, one at the intersection with Waterman Road and one at the intersection with Mosher Road. Related to sewer, after publication of the original EIR, a level 2 sewer study was prepared, addressing wastewater generated by the revised project and showing capacity of off-site sewer infrastructure to accommodate wastewater flows. And finally, as related to infrastructure, there's a new drainage master plan showing the need for off-site facilities that were not known at the time of the original 2019 EIR. Specifically, an existing pipeline located south-southeast of the city-owned parcel would be upsized and would extend off-site to an existing pond and an existing outfall into Deer Creek. Probable environmental effects. So this supplemental EIR will address the same impacts as needed as were addressed in the 2019 original EIR, including these topics on the slide. The supplemental EIR will have the same organization of the original draft so that it's easier to understand the new information related to the revised project. On the overall environmental review process, that starts now with the scoping, the notice of preparation that the supplemental EIR is coming. Next step is a draft supplemental EIR. Then review comments on that draft supplemental EIR and provide a final EIR, which includes a response to comments on the draft EIR. Then at that point, the city can consider certification of the supplemental EIR and then consider action on the project itself. And finally, providing input on the notice of preparation. The focus of input should be on the scope of analysis. What should we study? On mitigation? Do you have ideas for mitigation measures that should be incorporated into this environmental document? On alternatives, what alternatives should we study that would help reduce or avoid potential environmental effects? And then finally, to whom shall we reach out for input? If you have organizations, individuals that we should reach out to gather input, the city would welcome that sort of input as well. And then finally, how do you provide input? By 5:00 p.m. on Wednesday, August 19th, provide input to Christopher Jordan using the contact information that is provided on this slide. That concludes the scoping presentation, and the city would welcome your comments at this time between now and August 19th.
Great, thank you, Matthew. Appreciate it. If you have any questions about the project, you can certainly contact the city as well. This contact information, happy to address. Of course, many of us continuing to work off-site during the pandemic. So if you do reach out to us via email or phone, it may take us a little bit of time to get back to you, but we are requesting your comments and feedback as we're preparing the supplemental EIR here for this project. Again, thanks for watching. Appreciate your participation in this process and look forward to your comments. Have a great one.